All right, let's just jump right into this. We're going to talk about why those huge, ambitious goals we all set, well, why they almost always fall apart. And more importantly, we're going to look at a totally different system, one based on tiny, almost invisible actions that is the real key to making change that actually sticks. So, does this little timeline look familiar? I bet it does. January comes, you are on fire, full of promise and motivation. But then, February hits and it's kind of dead on arrival. By March, you've pretty much forgotten what the goal even was. And then, like clockwork, December rolls around and we're right back at it, making the exact same promises. It's a crazy, frustrating loop, isn't it? But here is the single most important thing I want you to take away from this. Seriously, this is not your fault. It has nothing to do with a lack of willpower or you not wanting it enough. The problem isn't you. It's the playbook you've been given. It's a system that is fundamentally, completely broken.
All right, so first things first, let's do a little diagnosis. We're going to break down exactly why this traditional approach of setting big, massive goals is pretty much designed to fail right from the very beginning.
Okay, this slide, man, this one hits home for a lot of us. It exposes the #1 flaw in our thinking. See, we make these grand plans for a superhero version of ourselves, this fantasy you who has endless energy, perfect willpower, and all the time in the world. But we have to live our lives as the real you. And when real life shows up with all its stress and chaos and just plain old fatigue, that perfect fantasy plan completely shatters.
So that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If our fantasy self isn't going to show up, why can't we just muscle through with pure motivation? Well, it begs the question, why is motivation so flaky?
Because motivation is an emotion. It's like trying to run a car on a really unpredictable fuel source. You get these massive spikes when you're feeling inspired or maybe even angry with your life, but it vanishes, poof, the second you're tired or stressed or you feel like you're not making progress fast enough. Any system that relies on you feeling highly motivated every single day is a system that's guaranteed to fail. And this is the final nail in the coffin. It's the all or nothing trap. When you set a massive resolution, missing one workout or eating one cookie doesn't feel like a small slip-up. It feels like a total, catastrophic failure. Your brain goes, well, that's it, I've ruined it. And that shame and guilt makes you want to just quit altogether. So, we do. Now it gets even deeper than just our planning. It turns out our own brains are often wired to work against us. This is the part of the psychology of change that nobody ever really taught us in school. You see, you gotta understand your brain's top priority. It's not to help you become successful or happy. Its #1 job is to keep you alive. And from a survival standpoint, anything that's familiar is safe. Your brain will literally choose the pain it knows over the effort of trying something new and uncertain. So that resistance you feel when you try to change, that's not a character flaw. It's just your biology doing its job. So how in the world do we get around this? How do we work with our biology instead of fighting it? Well, it all starts with something that sounds so small it's almost ridiculous. Do one push-up. That's it, just one.
Because that single tiny action isn't really about the exercise. It's not about getting buff. It's about something way, way more powerful. With that one push-up, you cast a vote.
A vote for this identity. I'm someone who exercises. And that is the whole game. Every tiny action you take is like a little piece of evidence you're handing to your brain, proving who you are now. See, real change doesn't happen by making promises. It happens by collecting proof.
Which brings us to this absolutely brilliant quote. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your behavior isn't really driven by how ambitious you are. It's driven by the systems you have in place day to day and the identity that those systems help you build.
So, we've torn down the old way of thinking. Now let's build up the new one. This is the solution, the micro-habit system. This is where we learn how to use these tiny, almost effortless actions to create huge, lasting change in our lives. So, what in the world is a micro-habit? Well, it's a version of whatever new habit you want to build, but it's shrunk down until it's so small, so incredibly easy, that it feels almost silly not to do it. The whole point is that it's designed to be impossible to fail. And when I say easy, I mean stupidly easy. Instead of go to the gym for an hour, it's do one push-up. Instead of I'm going to write my novel, it's I'm going to write one sentence. You're not launching a business, you're just going to open the project file. These actions are so small, they just fly right under your brain's resistance radar. And here is the secret sauce. the big reversal of everything we've been taught. We think we need to wait for motivation to show up before we can act. But that is completely backward. The truth is, action creates motivation. That tiny win of doing just one push-up, it actually gives you a little hit of dopamine. It builds momentum. And hey, maybe you'll feel like doing a few more. But even if you don't, you still won. You showed up.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually put it into practice? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual framework. Here are the 4 simple rules for building your own system of habits that will actually stick around.
Here they are. Number 1, make it so easy it's almost embarrassing. We've covered that. Number 2, anchor it to an existing habit you already do without thinking. This one's genius. Number 3, track your streaks, not your results. Just focus on showing up. And finally, the golden rule, number 4, you can miss one day, life happens, but never miss 2 days in a row.
Let's just zoom in on rule number 2 for a second, because anchoring is a total game changer. You just link your new micro-habit to something you already do on autopilot. So right after you brush your teeth, you stretch for 30 seconds. The moment you open your laptop, you write that one sentence. This takes all the decision-making and willpower out of the equation. It just becomes automatic.
Now let's zoom out. I know what you might be thinking. One push-up? One sentence? How is that ever going to lead to anything meaningful? This is where we get to talk about the truly mind-blowing power of tiny gains and why these small, consistent changes lead to unbelievable results over time. Just think about this number, 1%. Getting 1% better each day feels like, well, it feels like nothing. You won't notice it tomorrow or next week. But because of the incredible magic of compounding, over the course of a year, that tiny daily effort makes you nearly 38 times better. That's not a small improvement. That is a life-changing transformation. So let's bring this all home and go back to where we started. If you have ever felt like a failure because you've struggled with resolutions year after year, I really want you to let this sink in. Your past failures were never personal. You were not lazy, you were not undisciplined, you were just using a broken system. So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? It's this one simple idea. Stop promising, start designing. Stop making big, empty promises to some fantasy version of yourself. Instead, start designing small, simple, unavoidable actions for the person you are right here, right now. Because that is how real, permanent change actually happens.